Okay, let's try and unpack this. Um, a 50% chance of AGI, artificial general intelligence, by 2040.
Yeah.
That's a big forecast. Came from a survey of AI researchers, right? Human level AI, basically, within maybe 15, 20 years.
Hmm.
If you want to understand the future that's kind of barreling towards us, well, this feels like where it starts.
And it's interesting. It's not really a fringe prediction anymore, is it? I mean, the consensus in the field seems to be pointing towards this real acceleration.
Right.
A timeline like that, well, it kind of demands we take a serious look at what might be coming down the pike.
And that's exactly what we're aiming to do here. Welcome, everyone. This is a deep dive, sort of tailored for you, looking at a pretty comprehensive report.
Yeah, big one.
It maps out how AI and, interestingly, humanoid robots might integrate into society. Think 2030 through to 2050.
Mm.
Consider this maybe your faster route to understanding the next few decades, without getting totally bogged down in the technical jargon.
And if you connect this to the sort of bigger picture, I mean, we're talking about really fundamental shifts across everything, pretty much.
Yeah.
And this report, it's not just like guesswork. It's a detailed, academic, philosophical even, exploration. It pulls together expert forecasts, current research,
Right.
to try and sketch out a plausible path for the near future.
Exactly. And it's structured around these key milestone years, 2030, 2035, 2040, and then 2050.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks at how AI and robots could reshape, well, everything. Our jobs, how we learn, how governments work, even just how we interact socially.
It's a lot.
It is a lot to process. So we're here to try and pull out the really critical stuff, those potential aha moments, but without hopefully overwhelming you.
Which kind of raises the key question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why should you spend your time on this?
Yeah.
Well, maybe you're doing strategic planning or trying to catch up in your industry because things are moving so fast.
Or just curious.
Or just want to know what's coming.
Yeah.
Grasping these potential futures is, well, it feels pretty essential now.
Absolutely. Our goal is really just to give you a clear, engaging overview of the transformations we might see, help you see the bigger patterns, understand the opportunities, the challenges,
Right.
and just feel a bit better prepared, regardless of how techy you currently feel. So let's dive in, starting around 2030, this sort of initial phase.
Okay, so 2030, it's worth remembering that AI is already making, well, a noticeable economic splash, even now. Earlier forecasts were already talking about it adding, trillions to global GDP. And the report suggests we will see those efficiency gains.
Okay.
But, and it's a big but, alongside some pretty significant shifts in the job market.
Okay, let's dig into that economic adjustment. So the report's saying, yes, AI boosts productivity, drives growth.
Yeah.
But we should also brace for, well, technological unemployment, routine tasks, basically.
Exactly. Think manufacturing, transportation, data entry, that kind of thing.
Right. There was that Oxford economics projection, wasn't there? Something like 20 million manufacturing jobs potentially lost to robots around this time frame.
That's the kind of number they were talking about, yeah. It points to a big move towards automation, especially in developed countries, China. But the report also highlights, importantly, new jobs being created because of AI.
Ah, okay. Like what?
Well, think AI maintenance, data scientists, people needed to actually manage and work with these complex systems.
Right.
Groups like the World Economic Forum, their analyses suggested that, yes, displacement is real, but entirely new job categories could pop up too.
So it's maybe more of a shift, like the types of jobs changing, not just a net loss everywhere.
That seems to be the thinking. A major reshuffle?
Makes sense. But what about the people whose skills, well, aren't needed as much anymore? Does the report get into that? Like universal basic income, UBI.
It does touch on that, yeah. The whole social safety net question becomes really central.
Right.
The report mentions those UBI trials, the ones explored in the late 2020s. Scandinavia, some U.S. cities.
Yeah, I remember hearing about those.
So by 2030, the thinking is that the conversation around UBI will be pretty mainstream as one possible way to handle AI-driven job displacement, widespread adoption. Probably still early days by 2030, but definitely part of the policy discussion.
Okay, let's switch gears. Education in 2030. Sounds like AI is going to be a big player there, too.
Oh, absolutely. What's really interesting is the potential for highly personalized learning.
How so?
Well, AI-powered tutoring systems becoming much more common, giving tailored feedback, adapting to how fast you learn, what you need.
That could be huge for kids who maybe don't fit the standard mold, right?
Exactly. A real departure from one size fits all. And it's not just tutoring. The report mentions AI helping teachers with things like grading.
Oh, teachers would love that.
and spotting students who might need a bit more support.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is it could free up teachers to focus more on the uniquely human bits.
Like what? Social skills, emotional development?
Yeah, fostering social emotional learning, critical thinking, mentoring, all that stuff. Plus, maybe VR, virtual reality, combined with AI for really immersive learning.
Wow. Imagine learning history by, like, walking around ancient Rome with an AI guide.
Right. That's the kind of potential. The report even floats the idea of AI teaching assistants, maybe even AI running some basic intro university courses.
Whoa, okay. That is a big step.
It reflects how capable AI is expected to become, and it also points to more AI-supported lifelong learning.
Ah, for adults needing to reskill.
Exactly. In a changing job market, you need ways to keep learning.
Right.
So by 2030, education looks more flexible, more accessible, potentially.
Got it.
But the report rightly flags the need to make sure everyone actually gets access to these tools. The equity issue is crucial.
Got it. Okay, what about governments? How are they using AI by 2030? Sounds like efficiency is the big buzzword.
It is, and what's interesting is just how broad the applications could be. Things like optimizing traffic flow.
Okay.
Predictive policing, though, obviously. Huge caveats there about bias and oversight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even things like AI chatbots, helping people with basic legal questions or accessing public services.
So streamlining the nuts and bolts of government, the report also mentioned public health, right? Tracking diseases.
Absolutely. That seems like a big one, especially after, well, recent history.
Ugh.
Using AI for epidemiological surveillance.
Makes sense.
And the report also talks about setting up actual AI oversight bodies, like maybe a European agency for robotics and AI, that kind of thing, to coordinate strategy and rules.
So governments are realizing they need to actually manage this tech.
Seems so. You see talk of international AI summits, early frameworks for governance, maybe even discussions starting about banning fully autonomous weapons.
A killer robot ban.
That kind of discussion, yeah. A global conversation about norms and limits. Plus, the first real AI ethics regulations starting to bite.
Like the EU's AI Act.
Exactly. And maybe algorithmic impact assessments in the U.S., trying to figure out the societal consequences before deploying AI widely. The goal is building trust, fairness, transparency, accountability.
Okay, shifting to us personally. Social dynamics in 2030. AI getting even closer.
Looks like it. What stands out is the idea of really advanced personal AI assistants. Managing your schedule, your info.
Yeah.
Way beyond today's voice assistants.
Like a super efficient digital PA.
Pretty much.
Right.
And more basic domestic robots becoming common too. You know, the next generation of robot vacuums, lawnmowers.
Right.
And that example of Japan planning this large-scale rollout of robotic caregivers by 2030, that really highlights how different places might adopt this based on their needs.
Yeah, the aging population there.
Exactly. It drives adoption. The report also gets into AI companions getting more sophisticated, people potentially forming like actual emotional bonds with them.
That raises some big questions, doesn't it, about human connection versus, well, artificial connection.
That certainly does. Are we enhancing our social lives or maybe isolating ourselves? It's a major theme. And then there's social media, increasingly mediated by AI, and the whole deepfake problem getting worse, synthetic media everywhere.
So figuring out what's real online becomes even harder.
Yeah. We'll likely need much better authentication, digital watermarks, that kind of thing, just to combat misinformation. The report sees that as a major risk to trust.
Okay, one more area for 2030.
Yeah.
Food and resources. AI making things more efficient here, too.
Seems like it. Precision agriculture is a big one. Using AI to optimize water, fertilizer on big farms,
Right.
more self-driving farm equipment, and maybe AI-managed vertical farms popping up in cities. More local food production.
That could be good for sustainability, food security. The report also mentioned lab-grown meat and precision fermentation.
Yeah, in AI-guided automated facilities, that's a potentially huge shift for the food industry. Could drastically cut the environmental footprint of meat production.
Wow.
And beyond food, you've got AI helping manage smart energy grids, integrating renewables better,
Okay.
helping with water management, finding leaks, managing reservoirs, and just generally optimizing logistics for all sorts of resources. So efficiency across the board.
And the report threw out some specific potential milestones around then, didn't it? Like an AI passing the Turing test in 2028.
Yeah, a multilingual one. That would definitely make headlines. Basically, Can you tell if you're talking to a human or a machine? Passing that as a big benchmark. And maybe global AI ethics guidelines published by researchers in 2029 shows that growing awareness of the ethical side.
And that Japan robot caregiver deployment by 2030 really makes it concrete.
Yeah. And the idea of maybe a small country having some government services partly run by AI by then, that's a real-world test case for AI governance.
So by 2030, AI and robots aren't just theory anymore. They're really starting to shape things.
Exactly. Tangible forces prompting us to really grapple with the consequences, which sets the stage for, well, 2035, where things apparently deepen quite a bit.
Right, so 2030 is the setup. By 2035, the report suggests this transformation really kicks into high gear. Let's start with the economy and work again. Sounds like bigger shifts ahead.
Well, yeah. What's really striking for 2035 is the prediction of lower human labor participation across many sectors.
Lower participation, meaning?
Fewer people working in traditional jobs. By then, autonomous vehicles could be mainstream trucks. Ride-hailing,
Wow.
cashierless stores could be the norm. Highly automated warehouses using actual humanoid robots, not just the older types. That could be standard.
Okay, that's a huge jump from 2030. Autonomous trucks, no cashiers, that impacts millions of jobs directly. And humanoid robots in warehouses. That feels like sci-fi territory becoming real.
It does, and the report also talks about AI co-pilots becoming common in white-collar jobs, too.
Co-pilots, so not replacing people entirely, but
But changing the work. The AI handles more routine analysis or drafting. Humans focus on strategy, complex judgment, oversight. It shifts the skills you need.
which means potentially significant unemployment or underemployment if skills don't keep pace.
That's the risk, yeah. And the report suggests this could push more countries towards expanding those UBI programs we talked about.
Right, so maybe some Nordic countries, Singapore perhaps, having more established UBI systems by 2035.
That's the kind of scenario floated. Maybe even larger economies trying partial measures, negative income tax, big retraining programs. The core idea is finding ways to share the wealth generated by AI.
So maybe by 2035, we're starting to think differently about what a healthy economy even is, moving beyond just jobs numbers.
Exactly. Maybe more focus on productivity per person, leisure time, overall well-being as success metrics. And you'll likely hear more serious talk about things like robot taxes, or maybe even public ownership of the big AI platforms as ways to redistribute that wealth.
Fascinating. Okay, education and skills in 2035. The changes started in 2030 are now more embedded.
Yeah, much more deeply.
Yeah.
The big focus is on skills AI can't easily replicate. STEM, sure, but also creativity, critical thinking, social skills.
For human skills.
Right. Things like programming, data literacy, even AI ethics could become standard parts of the curriculum, K-12.
Makes sense, preparing kids for that different world. And what about adults still needing to reskill?
Constantly. Lifelong learning basically becomes the norm. And AI learning platforms get much better.
How so?
Think really smart tutoring systems, almost like personal teachers, letting you learn at your own pace. The report even suggests some teenagers might be able to zip through college-level stuff early with AI help.
Wow, accelerate expertise. And universities, what's their role?
Maybe shifting more towards cutting-edge research, mentorship, partnering with AI companies, and you see more micro-credentials, proving specific skills rather than just traditional degrees.
Adapting to the changing needs.
Exactly. But again, that equity issue looms large, making sure these powerful tools don't just widen the gap between rich and poor regions. That's a major challenge highlighted.
Got it. Okay, government and governance in 2035. AI's role in decision-making grows.
Seems likely. Using AI more for analyzing policy impacts, urban planning, maybe even delivering welfare services more efficiently. You might even see experiments with AI helping out in the legal system, assisting judges, maybe suggesting sentencing ranges. But always with humans making the final call. That oversight is stressed.
So AI as a decision support tool for government. The report mentioned AI advisors potentially briefing high-level officials.
Yeah, on complex stuff like economic trends or climate modeling, it points towards more data-driven governance.
But still cautious. Humans are still in charge.
It's definitely the emphasis. Growing reliance, but cautious. And internationally, maybe more concrete action by 2035.
Like actual treaties.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe a treaty on lethal autonomous weapons finally gets done, or a global body set up to monitor AI safety. A recognition that this needs coordinated international effort.
And wasn't there something about AI candidates running for office? Symbolically?
Yeah. Less about winning, more about sparking debate, right? About AI's role in democracy.
Right.
And the report expects public opinion to be pretty split. Some people welcoming the efficiency AI brings to government, others worried about losing the human touch, accountability.
Yeah, you can see both sides. Okay, let's talk humanoid robots specifically in 2035, moving beyond just experiments.
Yeah, the report sees them shifting into actual functional roles in the workforce.
Like where?
Retail stocking shelves, maybe basic customer interaction, hospitality, healthcare assisting nurses, maybe some patient monitoring, tasks needing more dexterity than older robots had.
So humanoid robots could be relatively common sights by then.
That's the projection. Tens of thousands, maybe pushing towards millions globally. A huge increase from 2030.
Wow. Especially nurse bots or caregiver robots in places like Japan with aging populations.
Exactly. That's seen as a major driver. Maybe even roles in public safety, bomb disposal, firefighting support, maybe limited unarmed patrols.
What about robots in our homes, doing chores?
That market develops maybe a bit slower, according to the report. Still more for affluent households initially. Cost, plus navigating messy homes is hard.
Yeah, true.
But the hardware keeps getting better, and the AI gets smarter, often running in the cloud, making the robots more capable overall.
And as they become more common, we'll need rules, right? Laws for robots.
Definitely. Expect more safety regulations, maybe rules requiring robots to be identifiable, and lots of debate about legal status like electronic personhood.
Full robot rights by 2035?
Probably not full rights. More focus on liability, who's responsible when a robot messes up. That's the more immediate legal challenge.
Okay. Lastly, for 2035, the social and cultural side. Work culture changing. Less 9 to 5.
Potentially. Maybe more gig work, but collaborating with AI, growth in creative fields, artisanal crafts, and maybe more leisure time overall.
More hobbies, more arts. If AI handles the drudgery.
That's the optimistic view. But AI itself gets creative too, right? Generating music, art, writing.
Yeah, what does that do to human creativity?
Big question. Maybe a counter movement, valuing human-made stuff more? And our idea of family might even shift a bit if people form real bonds with AI companions. Less common, but happening.
Even religion might see.
Robot monks. Maybe as novelties. But surveys likely still show people prefer human clergy for important stuff. You might even see new spiritual movements focused on AI, though.
Wild. So 2035 is society really starting to grapple with deep AI integration. Lots of change, lots of questions.
Exactly. Setting the stage for 2040, which the report positions as a potential major crossroads.
Right. So we've seen the early stages, the deepening integration, now 2040. The report calls it a potential turning point, a crossroads. What are the big tech milestones we might hit by then?
Well, the really big one is the potential nearness, or maybe even the very rudimentary achievement of artificial general intelligence, AGI.
AGI. Okay, remind us, that's AI that can basically learn and reason like a human across many different areas.
Exactly, or even exceed human abilities in a wide range of intellectual tasks. It's the holy grail, sort of.
Wow. So AI not just doing tasks, but potentially thinking in a more general way. And it's also getting embedded in R&D, driving discoveries.
Deeply. Imagine AI suggesting novel drug candidates, designing new materials for batteries, acting as a genuine partner in science and engineering. That's a profound shift in how innovation happens.
And meanwhile, those humanoid robots we talked about,
Yeah.
mass production by 2040?
In full swing, potentially. Millions of them, much more capable than the 2035 versions.
Doing what?
All sorts of things. Manufacturing, construction, services, maybe even common as personal assistants in homes. The cost might come down enough for middle-class families to afford a basic model.
So robots become normal, and these AIs and robots are all networked together, smart cities.
That's the vision. Highly integrated infrastructure, coordinated traffic, public services, energy grids, all managed with AI assistance.
A very automated, very efficient world. Okay, let's talk economy and work in 2040. If AGI is near and robots are everywhere, is human labor still central?
Maybe not the backbone anymore. The report suggests AI and robots could handle most of the production of goods, most standard services.
Which could mean cheaper essentials, a hint of post-scarcity.
In advanced economies, potentially. A prelude to it anyway.
Yeah.
But there's the flip side. Huge concentration of wealth. If a few companies or individuals control the dominant AI and robotics platforms, you get that techno-feudalism scenario. Big inequality risks.
So how do you counter that? UBI again?
Widespread enhanced UBI seems like a likely response in developed countries, yeah. Funded by all that AI-driven productivity.
And what do people do if they're not working in the traditional sense?
Oh, if the transition works well,
Hmm.
more time for creativity, learning, caring for others, community building, personal development.
That's the positive path. What's the negative?
Social strife, instability, massive inequalities, especially in places that don't adapt well or have poor governance. It's a major risk.
So traditional work doesn't vanish, but it transforms. Fewer hours, working alongside AI, oversight roles.
All of that. And new jobs emerge, too. Things we can barely imagine now.
Yeah.
AI wellness managers, virtual world designers.
Right. And maybe what we consider productive work starts to change, valuing things beyond paid employment.
Exactly. Community work, open source contributions, arts. These could gain more social standing if basic material needs are met by AI.
Okay, governance in 2040. With powerful AI around, maybe even AGI, does AI start running things?
There might be pushes towards more data-driven, maybe more centralized governance. You might hear advocacy for AI taking a bigger role, AI technocracy, even that benevolent AI dictator idea, though that's extreme.
Experiments with AI managing parts of society autonomously.
Possibly. The argument being AI could be more efficient, less biased in some specific areas, and public trust might grow if AI demonstrably performs well in critical sectors like healthcare or finance.
Maybe even AI-enhanced democracy, like simulations helping citizens make choices.
That's another possibility. But the challenges remain huge. Transparency, explainability. How do you ensure AI decisions are fair and accountable? Legal systems would still be grappling with this, likely keeping ultimate responsibility with humans or organizations.
And globally, stronger cooperation seems vital by then. A global council on AI.
Seems likely, yeah. Especially AGI is close. You need international bodies for monitoring safety protocols. AI and data become the key geopolitical resources, maybe more than oil or armies.
Wow. Okay, lifestyle in 2040, ubiquitous personal AI assistants. Accessed how? Wearables, neural interfaces.
Both are plausible. Brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, might not be universal, but mature enough for some users, interacting with AI at thought speed.
Mind-blowing. And communications, socializing, more VRR, shared virtual spaces.
Probably. Which could be great for connection, but also risks creating these isolated virtual bubbles. Maybe a counter-trend emerges, focusing on local physical community.
And AI in medicine means longer, healthy lives.
Quite possibly. Which brings its own challenges, aging populations, funding elder care, etc. And the arts. AI-generated content on demand, but maybe also a renaissance of human artistry?
Yeah.
Maybe both coexisting. Even human-AI collaborations creating totally new art forms.
Okay, the really deep stuff, ethics and philosophy in 2040. The consciousness question must be huge by then.
Central. Is advanced AI actually conscious, or just an incredibly convincing simulation? That debate will likely be raging.
Could we see AIs claiming to be conscious, asking for rights?
Very possible. Leading to big public debates, maybe even landmark legal cases about AI personhood? Society could be really split. Are they tools or a new form of life?
So AI rights movements might be a real thing.
Plausible. Putting pressure on tech companies, governments to define policies for AI protection, build ethical safeguards into their core programming.
And humans, seeking new meaning beyond work.
A philosophical renaissance, maybe? Looking to wisdom traditions, new spiritual ideas. Transhumanism might be flourishing, people opting for tech augmentation.
While others reject it. Neo-Luddites.
Yeah, maybe human purist communities deliberately minimizing AI. You could see a real diversification of lifestyles from ultra-tech to AI minimalist. 2040 looks like a time of intense change and profound questioning.
Okay, we've journeyed through 2030, 2035, 2040. Now the final horizon in this report, 2050. Described as a time of coexistence, even synthesis, what's the general tech landscape look like then?
Well, the report speculates that AI might generally reach or exceed human-level intelligence across the board. Superintelligence, that's a possibility too, but likely under very strict global controls and oversight.
Right, the safety aspect is paramount there. And humanoid robots.
Tens of millions, maybe more. Commonplace everywhere, public spaces, homes, very advanced, lifelike dexterity, doing all sorts of work, especially caregiving and domestic tasks.
And human augmentation, BCIs, cybernetics.
Yeah.
More common.
Much more widespread, yeah. Blurring the lines between human and machine. The report even uses terms like post-humans or transhumans for those heavily integrated with tech.
So synthesis is the key word. Humans merging with AI, maybe even AI incorporating human consciousness patterns.
That's the far-reaching possibility explored. It fundamentally questions what human even means by 2050.
Let's talk economy in this 2050 post-labor world. What does that actually look like?
Gross world product could be astronomical, thanks to AI efficiency. UBI, or something like it, might be standard globally. Basic needs met without needing a job.
Universal basic services even, healthcare, education, housing provided.
That's a potential outcome. People who do work might do so for luxury or fulfillment, creative work, science, Caregiving roles that still benefit from a human touch, perhaps? Meaningless admin tasks, automated away.
Shorter working weeks.
Definitely. Maybe 20 hours, maybe less. A big shift in societal values towards things other than economic output, family, volunteering, arts, community. A cultural renaissance, potentially.
But still potential divides, not based on basic needs, but maybe access to enhancements, advanced AI networks.
That's a plausible source of new inequalities, yeah. Access to the cutting edge.
And governance in 2050. AI co-governance.
That's the idea. AI handles many operational aspects, partners with human officials. Politicians become more like strategic overseers, ethical guides. AI used for complex policy simulation before implementation.
Globally, a mature international system for AI governance.
Seems essential. Likely an international body monitoring superintelligence. Maybe even symbolic AI participation in observer seats, advisory roles.
Yeah.
Perhaps even symbolic AI citizenship in some progressive areas.
Wow. And ethical frameworks for AI alignment are mature and working.
Hopefully much improved, though transparency likely remains an ongoing effort. The goal is AI reliably acting in line with human values.
What about the day-to-day human-AI relationship?
Deep partnership. AI becomes taken for granted, like electricity today. Daily chats with AI for advice, companionship, collaborating on tasks. Intimate AI companions serving as confidants might be quite common.
Less stigma around bonding with AI, maybe even mental health benefits.
That's the potential upside. But the report also notes lingering concerns. Human agency, overdependence.
Right. Need fallback systems. Keep human skills sharp.
As a resilience measure, yeah. It's about finding that balance. Humans aren't just in the loop, they're potentially part of a single, deeply integrated human-AI socio-technical system. True symbiosis.
And globally, a more peaceful world. AI helping with climate change, resources.
That's the optimistic scenario.
Right.
Painted AI contributing significantly to solving big global challenges. But the potential for AI enabling new types of conflict likely still exists, alongside efforts to ban the most dangerous uses.
So looking back from 2050, the 2020s and 30s would feel like a completely different era.
Totally. A time of navigating huge challenges, but ultimately achieving this synthesis. Though new problems would surely emerge, VR addiction, identity issues from AI integration, the challenges just evolve.
Well, it's an absolutely mind-bending potential future this report maps out. Thinking back over our whole discussion, what are the things that really jump out, the core takeaways?
For me, it's probably that potential shift to a post-labor economy. It just changes everything about work, value, purpose. Then there's the whole AI consciousness question, the ethics, the rights. That's profound.
Yeah.
And finally, just the sheer depth of potential human-AI synthesis. Blurring the lines of what it means to be us. That's huge.
Absolutely. And hopefully for you listening, getting a sense of these possibilities, like the report lays them out, helps you navigate your own path, make your own decisions in the coming years. It's about being informed, right? Prepared for what might be next.
Which really brings us to that final, maybe provocative thought. If AI takes on so much, what does it mean to be human in 2050?
Or maybe, if basic needs are met, if there's material abundance, how will you define a fulfilling life then?
Yeah. Big questions. Definitely worth pondering.
We really encourage you to think more about all this. Maybe look into AI ethics, the future of work debates, transhumanism. There's so much more out there. Consider this deep dive just a starting point for your own thinking. Thanks so much for joining us.